how long the duration of those problems are going to last in their life. You don't know that for sure. You don't know that if they survive this night of experiencing these suicidal tendencies, you don't know if tomorrow's going to be better for them or not. You don't know what's going to happen. It makes a person think more long term down the line. Will it go away? How long is it going to take then? When will so it's kind of adding more anxiety to the situation, because a person's going to end up waiting, contemplating, waiting for that day. So it's just not exactly a very logical and sensible thing to say to an individual contemplating suicide. You're only thinking about yourself. A lot of people say that individuals who contemplate suicide are very selfish. This thing really, hits home. Like it just really creates a little bit of anger in me, honestly. Today it creates a little bit of anger in me when people say this. You're just being selfish. How could you be so selfish? Because like I said, usually people who are going through these thoughts, they're carrying the weight of the world on them, as well as the expectations of everybody else that is around them within their environment. So it's like they're living for other people and not for themselves. So to say that they are selfish people, that also diminishes their self perspective of themselves, how they feel about their life and what they're doing, how they're going about it. So yeah, this is something you must never do. Don't ever make them into a selfish individual, because usually that's not exactly the case. They're trying to think of other people. One thing that came to mind is that, when I was thinking of contemplating suicide at the time, I was thinking of, like, if I wasn't here, maybe life would be better for other people. Maybe they would be more happy because, these people don't know how to deal with me. So that would take the stress off of them. See what I mean? So it's like I'm not thinking about myself, I'm thinking about the wellness of other people, because my state of being was bringing other people down with me. They didn't know how to handle my emotional triggers, or they didn't even understand it, and I didn't understand it myself. So these were the types of thoughts that would come into my mind, and play a role in whether I was going to go through with it or not. So this is something you don't want to do or say. You need to focus on the positives. Like I said before, you can't tell a person what they need to do. It's kind of like, you want a person to act and be a certain way for you to feel comfortable. And this can make them feel uncomfortable, I mean. So that's something that also places stress on the individual, to live up to a certain type of expectation of, playing positive, when that's really not how they feel. That's really not where they're going to get to right now. They're just living in this moment, that this is the emotion right here and now, that they're dealing with. And sometimes focus can be very hard to achieve. No matter how much, I'm speaking from experience with the CPTSD. I have, a lot of training with grounding, but sometimes I have days, sometimes all those grounding tools, all those, re establishing, where I'm at, what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, things within the now moment, you know even so, sometimes those techniques, they don't always work successfully. So we can't always expect people to maintain focus all the time. Sometimes the focus can be a little bit difficult to achieve. uh Other people have problems too. That's the same thing as comparing. It diminishes their issues, it diminishes their feelings and emotions. It makes them feel like, okay, like I've expressed all this to you, but for some reason you're kind of disassociating from it because it's not enough. It's not valid. You're not validating their emotions and state of being in that time frame and place. So you want to make sure that you're always being attentive and listening to them, um, and truly letting them know that you acknowledge their feelings and what they're going through, within their own personal perspective. So, this isn't about other people. This is about them. They should be the focus. Uh, do something else to get your mind off of it. Once again, the redirecting, it's difficult to do something else or suggest that. In a way, it's kind of like ignoring, putting off yourself, putting off, something that's real and raw within yourself, that needs attention. It needs healing. It needs their personal attention to look at it and see, where is this coming from, so they can understand it and try to find a solution for taking care of it. Um, so, trying to find, certain things to do to get their mind off of it. You got to think logically, because some people, they do things that are not exactly healthy to get their mind off of things. Like for myself, like, just forget about it. Just go, direct yourself and go do something else. So where did I go? I went drinking. I did drugs, and that just made the issues even more worse. So, that's something that you don't want to place into the mind of a person who is, trying to find a solution, and trying to, redirect. It's best just to, not suggest anything like that, for them to just neglect themselves, because already they're not receiving like the proper attention from other people who can help them address something. So that's just putting it off. So in a way, it's like making a person feel like you're putting them off. The next one says, you need to let it go. Get over it. It'll pass. Okay, this is another saying that I've seen so many people express on social media. Like, this here is the main fuel to, like, almost like an entrapment, of a person getting into the more deeper contemplation of it. You need to let it go. Get over it. It'll pass. You can't say that to a person, because once again, it does not acknowledge what they're going through within their own perspective. You don't just get over things overnight. It takes years and years to heal, especially if a person contemplating suicide had been through a traumatic experience. So, with that, there's certain methods, certain, routines that they have to get into within their daily life. There's a lot that goes into the healing process of that. And, you can't just tell a person to, you know, just forget about it and let it go. you know um it's not going to help the problem at all. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have a hard time, is because they don't know how to process things fully out in order to let go. A lot of people don't exactly understand what letting go means. So this thing needs of um more of an approach that is more logical. So I would not suggest that being said to an individual as well. um you don't just get over things, especially when life is going to keep coming at you. you know Even from this point on forward, there's a life full of so many different situations and scenarios that can possibly affect, where you're at, where your stance is at, and how it can affect your future healing. So it all depends on how you're able to adjust to life changes, or certain things that come up. So sometimes it's difficult to get over certain situations, especially if you don't have a way out of it, or if there's certain things you have to kind of make compromises over. Because not everybody's situation is the same. Everybody has different situations within their own lifestyle, their own life choices, their personality, the way how they move through life, um, communicate with other people, um, or maybe they lack the support or tools needed to do that, to move forward. So it's a very intricate process, and people need to be aware of that. you know um so yeah. um I seen in a one of these suicidal awareness bulletins that stated, you need to ask the person about, how they're gonna do it and where they're gonna do it, in order to have like a sense of knowing, how you can direct help towards them. But this, I feel, is very wrong. This is wrong to do. You don't want to ask them how they're going to do it, because they're going to start thinking about it. They're going to get into those thoughts. You're asking them where, so it's like creating more of a visual type of feeling, like a reality of it. Um, and it really sets into place with the person to be like, yeah, this is it. This is where it's going to occur. And yeah, so it's kind of like validating to yourself that, yeah, I'm going to go through with it because this is the plan. So this is what you don't want to do. I know it says that in a lot of the I guess the protocol for helping people who are contemplating suicide, but I wouldn't suggest this, because for myself, no. No, it's not really gonna be, you can't guarantee that it's gonna be a preventative measure. You can't assume that. Okay. The next one is, you're seeking attention. Um that is kind of like what I would call um kind of like being self what do you call it, self-indulgence, being self-indulged. um so the person who is contemplating, you're not sure, if that's exactly what they need, a certain type of attention. You can't assume that. you know um in that moment, they are consumed by these thoughts. And a lot of times it's not attention that they're seeking. They're seeking a way out. They're seeking um a solution for how to overcome these emotions and thoughts. So sometimes people don't know how to ask for help. So asking for help can come in a different form, acting out in a certain behavior, Some people might not understand it, you know. They don't understand those small signals or small behavior patterns. So seeking attention is far from, you know what you should be assuming. It's not something to assume, because yeah, a person would feel judged by that, and kind of attacked. The next one says, "This is too sad for me to deal with." A person stated that to me before, like, I can't deal with this anymore, like, because I guess it triggered, stuff within themselves. So they couldn't be there, to help me with that situation, even though they reached out. So it did a kind of like a backfire. It didn't help. It just made me feel like I wasn't worth the time. I was too depressing of a person to be associated with. Um, so it's like I could not be what a person wanted me to be in that time frame in order to please them or make them feel happy or make them feel the way I hope that they would feel. Um, so it's like being responsible for that, and it adds a lot of weight to the depression, the sadness, everything. Because you can't please everybody, and you're already in that thought process of feeling like you're worthless, and you can't. It's like you're trying to understand your worth within the situation in order to hang on, but it can be difficult when people are telling you, like, this isn't worth my time, my happiness means more, and you're too sad and depressing for me. So this is something you definitely do not want to do. Last one. This happens a lot too. You need to get help. You need to go see a doctor. Never say that. Never. Because, this implies that, you know, um, like a person is not able to do something on their own without the assistance of, a medical professional or drugs, or, it kind of, there's a stigma, okay, around mental health. Um, in a way, it's kind of upsetting to me, because, like, the way how people view mental health or going to seek a doctor is seen in a negative way, to where it's like, kind of like an embarrassing thing to admit to, you know, because you're kind of looked at as a crazy person, just because you go to counseling, or, or because you're, seeking medical attention, for a certain condition that you're trying to have understanding of. So, there's such a negative thing, around that when you're going to counseling. And in a way, it kind of makes you seem, what's the word? I want to say inadequate, or, makes you seem like you're, man, I have the word, but I just can't express it right now. Yeah, but anyway, it makes you seem like you're not well enough to make choices on your own, or you're too crazy to comprehend things, because you need to go see a doctor for it. No, that's not the case. you know Usually, a lot of times, people do understand their condition, deep down. It's just a matter of, how do people understand you, on the outside of it, and how are they treating you, in respect towards what you're going through, and how your mechanism is, your function is. So it's like there's a lack of respect that people have for that, when individuals are going through some type of mental disorder, or yeah, like depression or, suicidal tendencies or anything, any type of range of, mental, emotional, um, instability, so, um, yeah, I feel that that really needs to be addressed, and it really needs to be changed, the perspective of that, because this is one of the leading causes why people do not want to go to counseling. They do not want to seek help, is because the connotation that you going to a doctor or going to see a psychiatrist makes people assume that you are crazy, that you're not logical, that you're incapable. There's the word. That's the word I was looking for. That you're incapable of living life, incapable of becoming stable, but that's not the truth. Everybody is capable if they learn, if they understand something. So that's why we seek, medical guidance or, certain types of help to address these issues. And when we're not in a place of where we can trust a person well enough to share all these issues with, then there's not going to be a way of picking out where these issues are coming from and pinpointing it, so that way we can form a solution. So that a lot of these things, they tend to make people turn away from getting, seeking professional help or professional guidance from, a psychiatrist or, counselor. So that's one thing you don't want to do, because there's a lot of negative backlash around this by telling a person, oh, you need to get help, you need to go see a counselor, because the way how they put it, it's kind of like saying, oh, you're crazy, you need to, go do something, fix yourself. Maybe it's not that they need to fix themselves, maybe it's the whole environment that needs fixing, and it's not really them. It's just that they're placed in that environment and they're trying to understand it, they're trying to manage themselves through it, but sometimes that can be way too much. So, that's something you don't want to say to a person. I believe this is kind of going over the time limit. I don't know, my phone shuts off like at the 30-minute mark. I'm trying to figure out why it has this issue, but I'll probably cut it short right here. And then well, actually, I don't know. Let's just see if I can see if this will all record onto one video. It worked before, but lately I've been having some technical issues. So I guess, yeah, we'll just go ahead and keep going, because I'm almost finished here. So I went over all the don'ts, things not to say to a person who is contemplating suicide. It's very important to be aware of that. But the things that you can do, the things that you can do for a person you're attempting to help overcome the thoughts of suicide, is to first of all tell them that you care. Assuring them that you're there because you care about their well-being. You know, and also asking them how they're feeling. Asking them, if they could share with you, share what they're going through with you. And you will do your best to try to understand. You know, and if you don't understand something, you would like to try more to gain more information from them, that could help you finally grasp exactly what it is that they're going through. Because it shows that you're making an effort. You're making an effort to make time to get to know them. A lot of times people who deal with suicide, they don't feel like people want to get to know them at a deep level, who's caring enough to understand. Also, you can ask them, how are ways that you can help. Just let them, be patient with, themselves, and trying to form solutions, on their own. So usually that helps, asking, how may I be of help to you? Keep asking that throughout, your conversation, because maybe they might not feel you could help them, in the beginning, but later they may be talking in the middle of a discussion, and then maybe a solution might be there. And so they'll ask you, can you do this for me? So it's important to, always be attentive to their needs. Um, Also, be a good listener. I can't emphasize that enough, because a lot of times, like, I've tried to open up to people when I was going through these types of issues, but they would just kind of stare off into space, like they didn't care, or they would be looking at their phone. They would be like doing something else, that made me feel like they didn't acknowledge I was even there. So this is something you want to be aware of. Be a good listener. Look them in the eye, make eye contact. That's very important. And also your response, like saying, if there's something that they tell you and you relate to, and you can tell them, express that to them. Say, yeah, I understand that. I know how that feels too. You know, but you don't need to elaborate. That's what I said right here. If you empathize with them, do express it, but be careful not to direct the conversation onto yourself. Okay, you got to remember that this person has an issue of their own. To add to that issue by putting your own issues on the table with theirs, I know people like to relate to each other and try to, compare, similarities in life paths, but sometimes that just creates more stress around the situation, because they're going to be focusing on, oh, like, how can I help you, or, I don't feel like maybe you're in the right place to help me, you know. So it's kind of like, you don't want to allow that conversation to go too far with your own self, because they should be the main person that is focused on right then and there, because this is their situation that they are going through. Okay. Also, please do be supportive of the awareness they have of themselves, and create a space for them to not feel judged, only heard with compassion. Okay, see, so like, if they're going through their emotions, expressing it to you, it's important to tell them that you acknowledged that, you know, um that you are supportive of them having the courage to express. That's a good positive thing to let them know, because it takes a lot of bravery to have to confess certain things that you're going through, or issues or problems. It takes a lot of strength to do that and be open and vulnerable. So you could say, like, I appreciate you for sharing this with me. I know it was probably a difficult thing to, express, but, I don't have judgment towards you. I support your feelings and emotions right now. I know this is what you're going through. So just be very compassionate and kind to them, in their journey, what they're going through and experiencing through their eyes. you know it's important to, be aware of their perception. Be supportive of, you know the attempts they're trying to make to express themselves. Because the last thing you want is a person to suddenly just close themselves off, because they don't feel like a person can empathize with them, or a person is judging them. So yeah, those are some of the do's that I have. And also, I have here, it's just like some important notes, a couple of them. There's probably more information you can find out there, but like I said, I wanted to be as thorough as I possibly could. And I just want to leave everybody with these last two, for now, is that it's important that if you do not understand or relate to their situation, do not pretend. That's the last thing you want to do, is do not pretend to be there when you really do not know what you're doing. You don't know how to relate. You don't know, what exactly they're going through. You don't know what to say. Don't lead them into a false type of communication. Because in a way, it's kind of like, they're already going through a lot of issues, and the last thing they need is deception on their plate, from a person just pretending like they care. Because that creates perspective within them that, you never know who's really being real with you or not. And that's what creates a lot of trauma in the first place. So if you do not understand, don't try to pretend that you're relating to their situation, because odds are they probably will catch on and they'll get a sense of that, and then they'll pull back, they'll pull away from you. Also, if you do not feel comfortable addressing suicide, do not attempt to assist the situation. Very important. Ask the person if there's an individual that they trust that you can put them in contact with to help. Okay, see, so your better understanding of the situation is vital. And a person with more training and experience would be able to handle the situation more effectively. So this is what you really want to keep in mind. That if you don't have this proper knowledge, just this, and this type of awareness towards this situation, then it would be best to get somebody who knows, at least these ways of communicating with them. Because you could accidentally say something, you know in relation to any of these comments, and then there you go, it triggered it, and they're going to end up going through with it. So that's the one thing you want to try to avoid. These are things to be aware of to help avoid that situation from escalating. And a lot of this is from my own perspective, as well as perspectives that I seen from other people too who've been through the same situation. There's a lot of people who survived suicide, and they had gone through these types of mental processing when hearing certain words being said to them. So it's important to make sure that a person who is consciously aware of this. Maybe the individual has a friend or a family member who has worked with them before, or maybe they have a counselor, or a place that they usually go to for help, and maybe you can get assistance from that place, facility, or person. So that is better in helping the situation